Adidas makes some of the most beautiful trail shoes. But is this a case of beauty is pain? It's time to lace up the Terrex Agravic Ultra Trail and talk about them after 100 miles. .51 miles with over 1,700 feet of gain, getting into miles at the Mines of Spain in Dubuque, Iowa, and rounding out my testing of the Adidas Terrex Agravic Ultra Trail. Now, before I give you my thoughts on this shoe after 100 miles, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that I bought myself. No one sent them to me or is paying me to make this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Adidas Terrex Agravic Ultra Trail. It's quite a mouthful of a name. First, for this long-term review, I'm going to talk about how I've been using the shoe. Now, this is a trail shoe, but I've been really saving it for days where it's going to be really messy, or days where there's going to be a lot of up and down climbing or a lot of technical type of running in the trails. And that's mainly because of the way this thing is constructed. It's built like a tank. Now, it does have boost and lightstrike in there, but overall, the main thing that I feel when I'm in this shoe is I feel like I'm in armor. It almost kind of feels like I'm running in a very agile ski boot, but ultimately I get a very strong sense of boot in this shoe. Not like a booty-like construction, not like a knit upper or anything else that's going to be super sock-like and comfortable. Not booty construction, boot-like construction is really what I'm feeling in this shoe. And I think part of it stems from their use of the lightstrike in making some of these side rails and these very dense 4mm lugs on the outsole, but it extends further into the upper as well. And especially in this heel area, there's an extremely rigid heel cup. I've never experienced a heel cup quite so built up. And even on the parts that are going to be touching your foot up here, it's all very stiff, and it kind of dug into my ankle the first handful of runs that I went on. And even over time, it's mellowed out a little bit, but still everything up here is very stiff. On the other end of the shoe at the toe cap, it feels very dense up front here as well. And it's done a very good job at protecting me anytime I'm dragging my feet and kicking a rock or a root. But overall, I feel just very kind of secure in this shoe in the sense that nothing is going to penetrate or otherwise hurt or twist this foot while I'm running on the trails. And so because of that kind of strength and structure, I've really just been saving it for days where I might be worried I'm going to turn an ankle because maybe I'm running on a very steep grade, maybe it's slippery and I'm worried about my ankles kind of swirling around underneath me. But those are the kinds of days, that's the type of terrain that I've really been saving the Ultra Trail Agravic. As far as the tread goes for those messy days, I feel like the 4mm lugs do a really good job of not only making contact with the ground and getting grip, but also shedding a lot of mud. The only place that I had some mud buildup was in this cutout towards the midfoot and the heel of the shoe, where you get the kind of window view into the TPE plate that's in the shoe. Now, it's a full-length TPE plate, and it serves two purposes. One, it's going to be a rock plate, so that way you're not going to feel anything poking through, depending on what you're stepping on the trail. And the other thing, it's going to help act like a carbon fiber plate would in terms of giving some extra stability and also some springiness with the step. Now, overall, the boost and lightstrike combo, I think, works really well in this shoe, and it was a really nice surprise. It felt much more comfortable stepping into the shoe, not only walking around, getting to the trailhead, but also on the trails as well. It made for a nice, comfortable ride. The boost gives you a lot of cushion and comfort, and the lightstrike helps keep things nice and snappy, so that way, if you are in a technical area where you got to pick up your feet really quickly, or you're really trying to pick up the pace, the lightstrike and that TPE full-length plate are also going to help keep things moving really fast. And I think if someone wanted to call this a Boston 9 with some very aggressive lugs and a super aggressive trail upper, I'm not sure that I'd completely disagree with them. This is a shoe that I could run in for several hours at a time once I had gotten in past a pretty substantial break-in period in terms of like the stiffness and the discomfort I was getting from the heel. I mean, the first couple of runs I ran in this, I could run in the shoe one day and then I'd have to take a break for a couple of days. Otherwise, I would just feel like there were bruises underneath each side of my ankle. And then this part on the Achilles was also digging into my Achilles a little bit. Eventually that did kind of go away. And so now I still feel the stiffness in all these areas, but it's not cutting into my leg any longer. So it's now a shoe that I feel like I can really get in it and run for several hours. Now, in terms of wear and tear, the shoe is holding up fantastic. I'm happy that it finally did break in a little bit, and it's still maintaining kind of all the structural integrity that I think was intended for this shoe, so that you can still take it for those extremely messy or those technical days. As far as the grip on the outsole, it's wearing down a little bit, mainly seeing wear on the outer edges of the shoe. It's actually kind of hard for me to pick it out. I don't know if it's just because my eyes are bad and a little bit colorblind, and this pattern is making it like really hard to really pick out what the wear is, but it's Continental rubber on the outsole, so you know it's going to be pretty durable and grippy. The one thing that I have noticed is that on one of the shoes, I've actually dug some chunks out of some of the lugs on the lateral side towards the forefoot, and so those lugs are kind of eaten away. It's a little bit of a surprise and doesn't terribly affect the ride of the shoe overall, but it is something that's a little surprising to see from a Continental rubber outsole from Adidas. Now, the Boost and the Lightstrike combo still are working out pretty well for me, and I don't feel like I'm losing anything in terms of the springiness or the impact absorption of this material over the last 100 miles. If anything, I wish the Lightstrike would kind of break in a little bit more, or preferably, I wish that there were just more boost in this shoe. For something that is supposed to be a multi-hour ultra trail running shoe, I just feel like I wish there were just a little bit more comfort in it. But as far as how this shoe is still performing from where it started, I feel like I haven't experienced any degradation in performance of the foams, which is pretty much what I would expect from something that has this much boost in it. Now, overall, I feel like this is a pretty good shoe, and I'm very happy with how it kind of developed over time. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to 100 miles in the shoe because of how stiff it was and how much it hurt my ankle. But over time, all of that kind of went away, not completely, but enough so that way I could really still enjoy running in the shoe. And I do think that the overall kind of boot-like construction of it really works well for that messy terrain or that technical terrain. So you feel like you can put your foot down, clamp it down, you're not going to worry about it sliding around or your ankles turning over because that shoe is so solid. The only thing that I think holds it really far back, other than the stiffness of this upper, I think it's just a touch too much. Maybe the amount of stiffness can stay there, but just shave the sides of the shoe so that way it doesn't hit the ankle quite so sharply in those early miles. But the other main thing that I would love is to just have more of that boost underfoot so that I can have a little bit more comfort for those longer runs, so that I could be in the shoe longer, so I could be out on the trails for even longer. I think the trail running shoe landscape is really competitive right now, and there are just so many great options that I think you can get similar performance with just a lot more comfort. So those are my thoughts on the Terrex Agravic Ultra Trail. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. You can always talk to me in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?